I always thought we had a good marriage. Lisa and I had been together for 10 years, married for 7. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but we always managed to work things out, or so I thought. It started with small things, Lisa working late more often, being more secretive with her phone. At first, I chalked it up to her job being demanding. She worked in marketing, a field notorious for long hours and high stress. But then there were the unexplained absences, the sudden need for girls' nights that she never had before. One night, as she was getting ready to go out, I asked her, "Who are you going out with tonight?" She hesitated for just a moment before answering, "Just some friends from work." "You don't know them." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But that hesitation planted a seed of doubt in my mind. The doubts gnawed at me. I tried to push them away, to convince myself that I was being paranoid. But the signs were there, and they were becoming harder to ignore. One Saturday, Lisa said she had to go into the office to finish a project. I decided to follow her. I know it sounds crazy, but I had to know. She didn't go to the office. Instead, she drove to a hotel on the other side of town. My heart sank as I watched her meet a man in the parking lot, and they went inside together. I waited for what felt like hours. When they finally came out, I confronted her. The look on her face when she saw me was a mix of shock and guilt. "What the hell are you doing here, John?" she demanded. "I should be asking you that," I replied. "Who is he, Lisa?" She didn't answer, just stood there looking like a deer caught in the headlights. That night, we had our first big fight about it. She denied everything at first, tried to make me feel like I was the one in the wrong for following her. "You're crazy, John! You have no right to follow me!" she yelled. "I have every right! You're my wife! Or did you forget that?" I shouted back. Eventually, she broke down and admitted she had been seeing someone else. "It was just a fling. It didn't mean anything," she said through her tears. "I'm so sorry, John. Please forgive me." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to forgive her. But the trust was shattered, and I didn't know if we could ever rebuild it. Despite everything, I loved Lisa. We decided to try counseling. We saw a therapist once a week for a few months. For a while, it seemed like things might actually get better. But the doubt was always there, lurking in the back of my mind. One night, after a particularly intense session, we sat in the car outside our house. "Do you still love me, Lisa?" I asked her. She looked at me, tears in her eyes, and nodded. "I do, John. I really do." But even as she said the words, I could feel the distance between us growing. It didn't take long for the cracks to appear again. Lisa was back to her old habits, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. One night, I went through her phone while she was in the shower. I found texts, pictures, and even a few videos. She wasn't just seeing one guy, there were several. My hands shook as I held her phone. I confronted her as soon as she came out of the bathroom. This time there were no tears, no apologies, just anger. "What the hell is wrong with you, John? Why can't you just trust me?" she screamed. "Trust you? How can I trust you when you're lying to my face?" I shouted back. That night she packed a bag and left. I didn't try to stop her. Lisa came back a few days later, saying she needed to get some of her things. We tried talking again, but it always ended in a fight. The lies, the betrayal. It was all too much. We were living like strangers, and it was tearing me apart. One evening, I got a call from one of Lisa's friends. She told me that Lisa had been seeing someone new, a guy named Mark. They had been together for a few months now. That was the breaking point for me. I realized that this wasn't just a phase. She had no intention of changing. I decided to file for divorce. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. But I couldn't live like this anymore. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay. The divorce process was brutal. We both hired lawyers, and the fights over money, property, and even our dog, Max, were endless. Lisa tried to paint me as the bad guy, saying that I was controlling and paranoid. Dear viewers, more than 90% watch my content without subscribing. If you still have not subscribed, then I ask you to do so. For me, this is the best motivation to continue. It was painful to hear, especially knowing that she was the one who had betrayed our marriage. The court proceedings dragged on for months. Every time we went to court, it felt like I was reliving the nightmare all over again. The division of property was contentious. We fought over the house, our savings, even our furniture. In the end, we had to sell the house and split the proceeds. I moved into a small apartment, while Lisa moved in with Mark. The emotional toll was immense. I struggled with feelings of anger, betrayal, and sadness. I had loved Lisa with all my heart, and she had torn that apart. Nights were the hardest. The silence was deafening, and the loneliness was crushing. I missed the life we had, even though I knew it was built on lies. Friends and family tried to be supportive, but it was hard. Some of them sided with Lisa, believing her version of events. It felt like I was losing not just my wife, but also the life I had built around her. After the divorce was finalized, I tried to move on. I threw myself into my work, trying to distract myself from the pain. I went to therapy, which helped a little, but the wounds were still fresh. I dated a few times, but it was hard to trust anyone. The fear of being betrayed again was always there, lurking in the back of my mind. I kept thinking about what I could have done differently. Maybe if I had been more attentive, more trusting, things would have been different. But deep down, I knew that it wasn't my fault. Lisa had made her choices, and those choices had consequences. It's been a year since the divorce was finalized. Lisa and Mark are still together, as far as I know. I've slowly started to rebuild my life. I moved to a new city, got a new job, and started fresh. It's not easy, and the scars are still there, but I'm trying to move forward. The experience changed me. I'm more cautious now, more guarded, but I'm also stronger. I survived one of the hardest things a person can go through, and I came out the other side. I'm still here, still standing. I've learned that sometimes things don't work out the way we want them to. People change, relationships end, and life goes on. It's not always fair and it's not always easy, but it's the reality we have to live with. Looking back, I can see the signs that I missed. The late nights, the secretive behavior, the lies. I ignored them because I didn't want to believe that the woman I loved could betray me like that. But now, I see things more clearly. I see the mistakes I made, the things I overlooked. But I also see the strength it took to walk away. To stand up for myself and say, enough is enough. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. And for that, I'm proud of myself. I still think about Lisa sometimes. I wonder if she ever thinks about me, if she ever regrets what she did. But I don't dwell on it. I can't. I have to move forward, to build a new life for myself. I've started to find happiness again, in small things. In my work, in new friendships, in the quiet moments of solitude. It's not the life I imagined for myself, but it's my life, and I'm making the best of it. The pain of betrayal is something that never truly goes away. It lingers, like a shadow, always there in the background. But with time, it fades. It becomes a part of your story, a chapter in your life. But not the whole book. I don't know what the future holds. None of us do. But I know that I'm stronger now, more resilient. I know that I can survive anything that comes my way. And that, more than anything, gives me hope. Starting over in a new city was both daunting and liberating. I found a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood and began to settle into my new routine. Work kept me busy, and I threw myself into it, hoping the hours would distract me from the lingering pain. One of my colleagues, Karen, noticed my solitary lunches and invited me to join her group. Karen was kind, and her group of friends was welcoming. They didn't pry into my past, and for that, I was grateful. It was nice to feel a part of something again, even if it was just casual office friendships. In my free time, I started exploring the city. I visited museums, parks, and local cafes. It felt good to rediscover my interests, to find joy in the little things. Slowly but surely, the city began to feel like home. One evening, while at a local bookstore, I met someone. Her name was Emily. We reached for the same book, a classic by Hemingway, and laughed about our shared taste in literature. We struck up a conversation, and before I knew it, we were talking over coffee at the shop next door. Emily was easy to talk to. She had a calm presence, a soothing voice, and an infectious laugh. We talked about books, movies, and life. I found myself opening up to her in a way I hadn't with anyone else since Lisa. As our coffee cups emptied, she asked if I'd like to meet up again sometime. I hesitated, the fear of getting hurt again holding me back. But something about Emily made me want to take a chance. I agreed, and we exchanged numbers. Dating Emily was different from what I had experienced with Lisa. There were no games, no hidden agendas. She was honest and upfront, and I found myself drawn to her authenticity. But the scars from my past were still there, and they made me wary. One night, as we walked through a park, I opened up to Emily about my past. I told her about Lisa, the betrayal, and the divorce. She listened quietly, holding my hand, offering support without judgment. "I can't promise you that I'll never hurt you," she said softly, "but I can promise that I'll always be honest with you. That's all I can do." Her words resonated with me. Trust is a fragile thing, easily broken and hard to rebuild. But Emily was willing to take that journey with me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. As months passed, my relationship with Emily grew stronger. We shared more about our lives, our dreams, and our fears. She became a constant in my life, a source of comfort and joy. We went on weekend trips, explored new places, and created memories together. But even as I found happiness with Emily, I still struggled with the remnants of my past. There were moments when doubt crept in, when I questioned if I could fully trust again. Emily understood my struggles and was patient, giving me the space I needed to heal. One evening, as we sat on my apartment balcony, watching the sunset, she turned to me and said, "Dear viewers, I ask you to subscribe to the channel under this video. I will be very grateful to you. John, I know you've been through a lot, and I know it's hard for you to trust. But I want you to know that I'm here for you, no matter what." Her words brought tears to my eyes. I realized that I had found someone who truly cared for me, someone who was willing to be there through the ups and downs. I squeezed her hand, feeling grateful for the second chance at love. Despite the progress I made, there were still unresolved feelings towards Lisa. I hadn't spoken to her since the divorce, but I knew that to fully move on, I needed closure. I decided to reach out to her, to have one final conversation. We met at a neutral location, a quiet cafe downtown. Seeing her again was strange. She looked the same, yet everything about our dynamic had changed. We exchanged pleasantries, but the conversation quickly turned to our past. "Why did you do it, Lisa?" I asked, needing to understand. She sighed, looking down at her coffee. "I don't know, John. I guess I was unhappy, and I didn't know how to fix it. I made a lot of mistakes, and I'm sorry for the pain I caused you." Her apology felt genuine, but it didn't erase the hurt. However, it did provide some closure. I realized that holding on to the anger and pain was only hurting me. It was time to let go, to forgive, not for her sake, but for mine. After that meeting, I felt a sense of relief. The past no longer had a hold on me. I focused on my future with Emily, embracing the new life we were building together. We continued to grow closer, and I finally allowed myself to trust fully again. We moved in together, combining our lives and creating a home filled with love and laughter. It wasn't always perfect, but it was real, and that was enough. I learned that it's okay to have scars, that they are a part of who we are, but they don't define us. Emily and I talked about our future, about the possibility of marriage and starting a family. For the first time in a long time, I felt excited about what was to come. I knew that whatever happened, we would face it together. Life moved on, as it always does. I found peace in the everyday moments, in the love and support of Emily, and in the knowledge that I had overcome something incredibly difficult. I had learned a lot about myself, about resilience, and about the importance of trusting again. Lisa remained a part of my past, a chapter in my life that taught me valuable lessons. I no longer harbored resentment or anger towards her. Instead, I felt a sense of acceptance and understanding. We all make mistakes, and we all have the capacity to grow and change. As I sat on the balcony one evening, watching the sunset with Emily by my side, I realized how far I had come. The journey had been painful and challenging, but it had also been transformative. I had found love again, and with it, a new sense of hope and possibility. Emily and I decided to get married in a small, intimate ceremony with close friends and family. It was a beautiful day, filled with love and joy. As we exchanged vows, I looked into her eyes and knew that I had found my true partner, someone who would stand by me through thick and thin. Our life together wasn't perfect, but it was ours. We faced challenges, celebrated successes, and built a life that was meaningful and fulfilling. I learned that love isn't about perfection. It's about commitment, honesty, and the willingness to work through the tough times. We eventually had a child, a beautiful baby girl. She brought so much joy and light into our lives. Watching Emily with our daughter filled my heart with a happiness I had never known. I felt grateful for the second chance at love, for the opportunity to create a family and build a future. As the years passed, I often reflected on my journey. From the pain of betrayal to the joy of finding love again, it had been a roller coaster of emotions. But through it all, I learned the importance of resilience, forgiveness, and the power of love. Lisa became a distant memory, a part of my past that shaped who I am but no longer defined me. I occasionally heard updates about her through mutual friends. She and Mark had parted ways, and she had moved on with her life. I hope she found the happiness and peace she was looking for. Emily and I continued to grow together, facing life's challenges as a team. Our love deepened over the years, and we created a life filled with love, laughter, and adventure. I found fulfillment in my work, joy in my family, and peace in the knowledge that I had overcome my past. As I sit here today looking back on my journey, I feel a sense of contentment. Life hasn't been easy, and there have been many challenges along the way, but I've come to realize that it's not the difficulties that define us, but how we respond to them. I am grateful for the love and support of Emily, for the joy of our daughter, and for the life we have built together. I've learned that trust can be rebuilt, that love can be found again, and that happiness is possible, even after heartbreak. Life is a journey, filled with ups and downs, but it's also filled with opportunities for growth, love, and redemption. And for that, I am eternally grateful.